What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Family Rising. We are so happy that you joined us. Today, we're going to talk about 4 a.m. wake-up calls from your baby and how to maneuver in your partnership through those moments of exhaustion.
For me, it feels really hard because I never felt like I was a morning person, and anytime I would not get my 8 hours, I would always have a really bad day and not be in the best of moods. And so having a baby has really kind of pushed my limits in terms of not only do I need to communicate, but I need to actually communicate well if I want to continue to have a family to take care of.
You know, for me, very similar. Like, it's very hard because it's not like you just have 1 or 2 nights in a row where you're waking up 3 or 4 times in one night, right? The dilemma is nonstop. It's accumulated over. So, for instance, it's not just that it's been a couple of weeks or a month or 2 months or 3 months. It's been 5 months of constantly getting woken up and having to figure out what the baby's going through, right?
I know if he's hungry, I'm definitely getting up because I breastfeed, especially in the middle of the night. We try to assess, is he hungry?
Does he have a burp? Does he have a diaper?
Yeah, does he need a diaper change?
Does he just want to be held?
Yeah, does he just want to be held? Did he have, maybe he had a nightmare? I think like recently he started actually like actively having some nightmares because he'll like
wake up just crying, and I go over to check on him because so if he wakes up and we don't know yet, I'm usually the first person up and I get up and check on him, and he's crying, but his eyes are closed and his hands are like this, so he's just like and you're just like, why are you're not even awake, you know what I mean? So like maybe he's having a nightmare.
Right. And like Aiden just said, he is usually the first one up because he's like a lighter sleeper, and like I've just never been like a Pop-Tart that like just like pops out of the bed when something is going on or there's a noise. So I just get really frustrated because I know that I have to get up. Like even if he's not that hungry, he wants to have that skin to skin breast contact for comfort, which is fine. Like I think it's a beautiful thing, but in the middle of the night I really struggle with not feeling bitter and feeling just I don't want to, you know, like there's just obviously still like a child in me that's just like I don't want to get up, you know.
For me, like I want to assess the situation because once I can figure it out, I can go back to bed. Whether I have to change him or he needs a burp, pretty much anything that's not breastfeeding, I'm gonna take on that responsibility, and then I can go back to bed. But for Jenilee, if I wake up and change him and figure out, hey, you know what, I changed him, I did all the things, and he's still he's still upset, he's obviously hungry, now Jenilee has to get up, right? And she's gonna have to stay up and feed Antler. So the point is that it's really confusing, and it's a lot for both people. So what we wanna do is kind of give you our top 3 tips that we found to be really, really helpful in our communication, and we're actively using these and discovering more, but these are kind of the top 3 that we just. All right, so the very first tip is that we want you to remember that no one is more tired than the other. So both parents are going through it, okay? Everybody is tired. I wake up very early in the morning, so I start my day hours before Jenilee gets up. Jenilee and Antler get up. So, like, I'm already tired before we've even gone to bed, right? I'm already exhausted. Jenilee has been feeding Antler all day. That burns so many calories and takes so much physical energy to breastfeed a baby. She's exhausted, too. And one thing we found is that we were trying to, like, compare who was more tired. She would be like, well, I stayed up till 2 to get him to bed. And I'm like, well, I have to wake up in 2 hours. And, well, I did this. Well, I did this. And it's just like, you know what? Everyone's exhausted. Everyone is tired. No one is more tired than the other person. Remember that.
And number 2 is sharing the responsibility. Making sure that you are actually co-parenting and you are actually sharing the responsibility of caring for this infant. And I think it just takes a lot of thoughtfulness on each parent's part to make sure that they're doing their own part and that they're not giving more responsibility to the other person. And sometimes, you know, I don't really feel like I have it in me to show up to the task, but I know that Aydian showed up the last 2 times and it really needs to be me this time. And so it's like that reciprocal, you know, handing off the baton back and forth, or the baby back and forth, simultaneously, you know, keeping each other in mind so that each person is getting cared for and nobody is growing in resentment.
And piggybacking off of that, to stay in line with number 2, is the concept that, like, checking in. So a lot of people might argue with our number 2, which is sharing the responsibility, that, like, but if you don't have to get up, isn't it better if one parent sleeps so that like, you know, you're not both exhausted? We do agree with that in some extent, but also it's like the example, if I get up and I hear Antler and Jenilee is kind of like sleeping still, but she's gonna get up. Like, you get up when the other person gets up. When the baby cries, both parents wake up, you know? So what she might do when she sees me with Antler is she might just kind of roll over and very tiredly be like, is there anything I can do to support you? Like, is he hungry or are you good? And if I say I'm good, that's kind of her permission to be like, don't worry about it, babe. Like, go back to bed. Like, I'm going to handle him. Don't stress it. And vice versa. If I wake up and I see he's hungry, I kind of say, babe, I think he's hungry. She sets up and then I go back to bed. But before I go back to bed, I'm like, are you good? Like, are you thirsty? Do you have to pee? Like,
you need a burp cloth.
Yeah, you know, do you need anything? And so just checking in to share that responsibility is really important, because it just makes both people appreciate one another a little bit more.
Absolutely.
The third and last tip that we want to give to all the new parents is going to be to name how you feel. Even if you are like angrily apologizing, like, I'm sorry I'm being so mean and using this tone, but I'm so freaking exhausted. That's okay. Just name it.
It's hard to name how you feel in those moments because all you want to do is scream and grunt or not say anything or just like hide under a pillow.
You won't see me. Maybe they don't know I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm definitely guilty of like hiding my face from the baby so he doesn't know that I'm there, because as soon as he knows, then it's time for mommy time. Yeah, I think it's super important to make sure that you are making an effort to communicate, knowing that you're not the same person at 4 a.m. and knowing that your partner is not the same person at 4 a.m. and that there will be an opportunity hours later, hopefully many hours later, to talk to each other as human beings and as, you know, the people that you actually
like,
know.
In the morning, like a morning check-in, right? Like that's what we would probably say, like, to piggyback off of the third is like the morning check-in, so that each person could be like, I'm so sorry, I was like totally rude to you last night, and now that I've slept, I'm like a nicer person. Sorry. I've done that to Jenilee many times. She's done that to me many times. But what we notice is, like, in the mornings, you have slept. And, like, you know, you are more likely to just be more admitted to, like, I'm sorry that, like, I totally was, like, rude and not a nice person and just, like, turned my back to you and fell asleep. You know what I mean? Or whatever you did, you know? Right? Like, I think those moments, they just help each person acknowledge, each person understands, and you're just kind of like, in hindsight, I could have responded and acted better. Yeah. And that's what we've discovered. Yeah. And that's why we're making this video, because if there's one thing we can do, it's like share just those little random things that you don't know about until you experience them. And if we can help you guys in any way, that's what we're here to do.
And it's like this parenting thing, we're in it for the long haul, and, you know, we want to keep our relationship thriving and, you know, within this parenting dynamic. And this seems to be the only way to do it, is to actually name, like, the 4 a.m. stuff is not cool and we need to start working on it.
Yeah, you don't want to be resentful or bitter to someone because of what they said, and you also don't, that's why we were like angrily apologize, because you also don't want to say something mean to your partner that you wouldn't normally say. It's like, I think we can admit that, like, we just, not that we curse at each other, we never do, we don't call names, but we just act in ways towards each other that we definitely would never act if we were just like regular in the middle of the day and not at 4, and because it's not just 4 a.m. It's at like midnight and 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. and 4 a.m. and 6 a.m.
And whatever time Antler feels
he wants to wake up.
he has a need. And that's fine because he's an infant. And, you know, so talking about these things is only going to harmonize our family. And, you know, we want him to witness us going through this because we want him to be able to talk to us about his feelings when the time comes.
So we hope that these 3 tips have helped you in some way. And if you are a parent and have any tips, leave a comment below. Help each other out.
Enlighten us, please.
Yes, if you like the video, please like the video. If you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, turn notifications on, and listen, if you're not a parent, share this with any parents that you are friends with or know.
Share it on your Instagram story, your Facebook page.
We will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.